In this video, we're going to discuss how to set up and install Drozer. Drozer is an application that is used for Android pen testing to be able to help to automate and detect vulnerabilities that are common for Android applications. It works by detecting attack surfaces of the applications, typically through things like content providers, exported activities, services, and broadcast receivers. And then it allows you to find those and potentially run some automated tests to be able to detect if they're vulnerable to some common vulnerabilities. For instance, content providers could be vulnerable to SQL injection. So we can run some SQL injection code through Drozer to test a whole bunch of content providers at once to see if any of them are vulnerable. So this is a very powerful and useful application. There's a lot of different ways to use it, which we'll go over in future videos. However, for now, I'm just going to demonstrate how to actually install Drozer, just to allow you to get set up with it before we dive into anything more. So the very first thing that you'll need is Python 2 installed on your computer. I'm going to use version 2.7.18 just because it's the newest version at this point of making this video. You can use whatever version 2 you really want for this. That being a newer version of version 2 that comes with pip packaged in it. I think that started as of 2.7.9, but really just pick the newest version and you should have pip installed with it. So we're going to go ahead and run this, and I'll install it for all users. I'll put in the typical Python 2.7 directory. If you want to check if pip is installed, you should see it here with the little hard drive icon next to it. So you want to make sure that, pip is actually present there. And then we'll go ahead and hit next and let it install Python 2 for us. The reason why we want pip installed is because there are a few dependencies that Drozer actually relies on. So we want to make sure that those dependencies are present just to ensure that nothing is broken when we try to actually run Drozer. So the general concept of Drozer is that it's going to be able to create a link between our device and our computer, sort of similar to the ADB link that will allow us to run some like automated testing and commands through that link. And all the scripts are written in Python. They're all open source on GitHub, so you can see all the scripts, you can contribute to them, and you can utilize them as you please. So you can see here we finished the install for Python. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into command line and I'm going to type in pip. You should see something like this if pip has installed properly. And we're going to go ahead and install some of the prerequisites for Drozer. So we'll say pip install. We're going to install protobuf. So we'll let this run through. We're also going to go ahead and install pyOpenSSL. This is another important one that allows us to make the connection between the devices. And we'll say pip install twisted. And I think there's one other dependency. We'll be able to see that when we actually install and run Drozer for the first time. But these are the three that are mostly required for a fresh install of Python. There may be one or two more depending on your Python installation. So we'll check those out once these finish off. So in general, Drozer can be installed from like the labs f-secure page. This is the general web page for Drozer. If you're looking for this web page, again, I'll put more links into a resources section for this course so that you're able to access these links and be able to get to the content that you need. But yeah, that's the general location of where this is located. If you Google search for Drozer, it will be probably the first or second result. Sometimes the GitHub page comes up first. You can also go there to get the installer. The installer that I use is the MSI. It's just the easiest one for Windows. There's, of course, Linux and Mac installers as well, just in case you're using one of those. It will allow us to install it for all users, and you have to be a bit careful with this. If you have multiple versions of Python, it might default to Python 3, which you don't want to install to. As far as I understand, Drozer isn't really compatible with Python 3, so you want to select Python 2 from another location. So we can click here and say will be installed on the local hard drive, and then we just want to navigate to where Python is. So it's typically under C Python 2.7. So we'll put in this exact path here. And then once we've done this, we can go ahead and click next, and then it will install the components into the Python 2 directory. The reason why I want the components in the Python 2 directory is because our path variable is set to run anything from the directory where this will install to. So that means that we can run it through our command line and it has easy access to the proper Python installation. So once that's done, we'll be able to click finish. And if you want to test if it's working or not, you can just type in drozer.bat console connect. And what you'll see is it will try to connect to the device and it will pop up any error messages that may exist. So for instance, you can see that we get this error, no module named service identity. This tells us that we need to install service identity, which you can do by saying pip install service underscore identity. You'll see it will work for a little bit, and then it will install that for us. And then we should have everything that we need installed for Drozer. So now that everything's installed for Drozer, we can try running this again, and we should just see an issue saying there's no device to connect to. And that will allow us to move on to our next step, which is just to set up our device with Drozer. Yeah, so this looks perfect. This is exactly what we want to see. When this happens, we just want to be able to install Drozer on our device. So I'm going to go into Google Chrome here, and I'll just accept through these and get us through to the default page. And we'll just go ahead and type in Drozer. So once you've typed that in, you should see there's the GitHub page here, and then there's the F-Secure Labs page. We'll go to the F-Secure Labs. I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom here, and we should see the different installers. So as you can see, there's like the RPM, the Ubuntu archive, there's the MSI that I was using to install it, and then there's the APK. So go ahead and click on the APK. It will ask us if we want to give permission to download and install files, which we'll allow. We will download it to the downloads folder, so this is okay. And then I can click OK here to try to open it. Right? And then it's going to ask me if I want to allow for unknown apps to be installed. We'll go into the settings and we'll go ahead and toggle this to allow apps from this source. Once this is done, I can press on the back arrow and I'll be able to install the Drozer agent. So I click on install, I'll run through the installer, and then I'll be able to open up the application. So now Drozer is installed on this device. So with this, we can turn on the embedded server, and this is what allows us to be able to connect between the computer and Drozer. It's running on port 31415. You can see that on the bottom here. So what we need to do is we need to forward a TCP connection between our computer and the device on port 31415. So to do this, we just go adb forward TCP:31415, and we do the same thing again. Running this command will create that tunnel between the two devices. Once this is done, you'll get a 31415 in response to verify that everything worked. And now once we do this, we can type in drozer.bat console connect. And what you'll see is it will actually connect to our device and be working as we want it to. It may take a few minutes depending on how fast your internet connection is, and you should see something that looks like this. And if you want to test that it's working, you can run a few different commands. So we can say run app.package.list. What this will do is it will list all of the applications that are on the device. So if this command works for you, then you now have Drozer set up and installed correctly. And now in the next few videos, we'll take a look at some of the things that we can do with Drozer to be able to analyze applications and determine if they're vulnerable or not using the tools that are available to us in here.